Should you buy the new Intel Arc B570 graphics card over the RX 6600 from AMD? You see, the Arc B570 is a very interesting product. Some reviewers like it and some reviewers not so much. And if you're looking for a good budget graphics card in 2025, both the B570 and RX 6600 are some of the best budget GPUs that you can buy right now. But which one is actually better for you? Well, that's what I'm going to answer in today's video, so stay if you want to find out which graphics card you should buy if you are on a tight budget between the RX 6600 and the Intel Arc B570. And the links to the best price to performance models from these graphics cards will be down below in the video description with the latest prices and availability. My name is Valentino. That being said, let's start. Now, the first point, of course, is going to be gaming performance, and in this regard the Intel Arc B570 is actually quite faster. It's between 20 to 25% faster on average compared to the RX 6600, and is much faster when it comes to ray tracing performance, in case you care about ray tracing at all. Now, the cool thing about the Intel Arc B570 is that it can run games at 1440p with no issues. So if you have a 1440p monitor and you're working with a tight budget, then the B570 might be an amazing option. So in terms of pure performance, the Arc graphics card wins, which is no surprise. This is a 2025 graphics card compared to the 6600, which is becoming quite old now. I mean, it's a 2021 GPU. But even if in terms of pure performance the B570 wins, it has some issues that you have to be aware of, and that's the CPU. Yes, depending on the CPU that you have, the B570 might perform better or worse. So if you have older CPUs, let's say you have a Ryzen 5 2600X or Ryzen 5 3600, then in some CPU demanding scenarios you are going to struggle. So if you have an old CPU and you're thinking to upgrade to the Intel Arc B570, be aware of this. And if you have a Ryzen 5 3600 or older, then I recommend you considering the RX 6600 because it's going to be more stable. And if you're buying a brand new PC, I recommend at least a Ryzen 5 7500F from AliExpress or a Ryzen 5 7600 or 7600X from Amazon or Newegg or Best Buy, wherever you want to buy it from. These CPUs will ensure that you're not losing on performance, or at least for the most part, from your Arc B570. And if you already have something like an i5 12400F or Ryzen 5 5600, then the B570 is going to lose some performance, but it's not going to be a huge loss on average. So even with that small loss, it's going to be faster than the RX 6600. So even having a CPU like the 5600 or 12400F is not going to affect my recommendation for you because of the price to performance. In terms of value, the B570, as I said before, is about 20 to 25% faster, and at the moment the price is about 20% higher. So even though it's not much better in terms of value compared to the RX 6600, it is still slightly better, and on top of that you get 10 gigs of VRAM instead of 8 gigs of VRAM, which is going to be ideal for 1080p. If you play at 1080p and you want to play high to ultra settings in high demanding games, having 10 gigs of VRAM is going to give you more room compared to having 8. The same goes for 1440p. For 1440p, this matters even more. I mean, I would have liked to see 12 gigs of VRAM anyway, but 10 gigs is going to be much better than 8 gigabytes. So even though in terms of value you pay for what you get, in the end you get more VRAM, which is quite important. Now, in terms of power consumption, the RX 6600 is more power efficient, so it draws less power, and if this is a strong selling point, then the 6600 might be the better option for you. But keep in mind that even though it consumes less power, you are getting less performance. So if you value a cheaper electricity bill over time over the level of performance that you get right now, that's completely up to you and that's completely fine. Then the 6600 would be the better option for you. Now, we already compared price to performance and gaming performance, but what about productivity work performance or content creation or AI streaming? Well, the B570 is much better in those type of tasks. It has AV1 encoding, so your streaming quality is going to be much higher. It's also much better for AI, 3D rendering, and everything in between. So if you're a professional content creator trying to find a budget build for you, then the B570 is by far going to be the best option for you compared to the RX 6600. But now let's talk about one of the most important topics, pricing and also availability. Well, the pricing for the Arc B570 by the time of filming is 230 USD, while the price for the RX 6600 from AMD is about $190. So that's about a $40 card difference, and this is not a whole lot, but if those $40 mean a lot to you and you just want to do gaming, maybe the RX 6600 is better for you because it's cheaper. But of course, if you ask for my recommendation, I think that you should spend the extra $40 and get the B570 for the most part. And why do I say for the most part? Well, if you have a very old CPU where the B570 might have issues like a Ryzen 5 2600X or Ryzen 5 3600 or below, then maybe I would go with the RX 6600. There hasn't been much testing around this yet, so I cannot guarantee you good level of gaming performance with the B570 with those old CPUs. But if you have a Ryzen 5 5600 or above, then I highly recommend you spending the extra 40 and going with the Intel Arc B570. It's faster, it has more VRAM, and it's not that much more expensive. And on top of that, it's much better when it comes to productivity work, content creation, and those type of tasks. But even then, I wish the B570 was slightly cheaper, because if it was around 200 USD, then there would be no competition. I would say go with the B570, but considering that you have the B580 with a $250 MSRP, that one is much more interesting if you can get it, but it has availability issues. So most people cannot buy the B580, but if you can find it at $250, that graphics card is a much better option than both the 6600 and B570. And if you want to build a complete gaming PC around the Intel Arc B570 and you don't want to bottleneck it and you want a budget build that's going to perform amazing at 1080p and 1440p, then I do recommend you watching my video on the best budget B570 PC build for 1080p and 1440p resolution. You can find that video in the middle of the screen, and also if you need a more personal PC help, with the top link in the description, you can ask me anything about computers and your next PC, whether it's a Prebuilt PC or a PC build, and I will be recommending you the right system for your budget and needs. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.